Hey everybody, Michael with Coronavirus Diaries. Today, for those of you that know me, you understand that the title of this video was purely sarcastic, and it was just to generate discussion. For those of you that don't know me, now you do. I do not actually think that you're an idiot, and I don't necessarily believe that your opinion is wrong. However, the title is specifically being used to address something that I'm seeing happening in social media, even in my own network. And online in general. Just it's a pretty toxic culture that's happening where it's more about being polarized and fighting and attacking others, trying to prove people wrong, as opposed to collaboration, which is a pretty apparently a novel concept. You know, a government, you would think that they would want to collaborate to come to a general consensus on the best scenario for the constituents, and instead it's turning out to be like inner fighting, and it's just pretty wild concept. So I thought today I'm just gonna present some facts specifically to the state of Minnesota. I'm not even looking nationwide, minus the unemployment rate, but here we go. So in Minnesota to date, 160 deaths for the entire state. 160 deaths. I'm not even talking infection rates, because infection rate is highly subjective how you can even use it until the entire population is tested within a certain amount of time. Without testing the entire population, it's highly speculative. And they're finding that even in LA right now, they're doing testing, and they're finding that the infection rate is actually like 55% higher or more than they anticipated, which, if that's the case nationwide, that's painting a dramatically different picture, which would suggest that the actual death or mortality rate of COVID-19 is significantly lower. But I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not going to try to debate any of that. It's just the infection testing, it's not really something that I'm paying attention to, because it requires the entire population to get tested before those numbers can really be anything more than speculation. But deaths that's what is happening. It has happened. So 160 deaths in Minnesota since about a month ago. Of those people, 70%, over 70%, were residents in long-term care facilities, something like nursing homes or assisted living, retirement homes, over 70%. So of the 160 that died, over 99% had underlying health conditions, and many had numerous underlying health conditions, right? And I'm not saying anything, I'm not trying to prove any agenda right now, I'm just stating facts. So this is some really interesting stuff that I found. In the state of Minnesota, the median age, the average age of the person that dies from COVID-19 is 84 years old, okay? 84 years old. In the US, I think the average life expectancy is it's just over 70 years old. So all things considered, doing pretty good. You make it to 84 years old. Don't take that out of context. I personally, I don't actually think I'm going to make it past 60. It's just the way that I've been living my life. So 84 would be highly unexpected for me. But the only reason I'm sharing any of this information is this. Right now, the national unemployment rate is 11.4%, and that equates to roughly 22 million people in the U.S. I think it's based on working age people. So I don't know if that goes into 17 or 16-year-olds, but of the working population in the U.S., there's 11.4% unemployed, and it's roughly 22 million people. So the numbers. I'm just getting back to the numbers. 160 in Minnesota, 5.6 million people in this state. There's healthcare workers being unemployed or basically being furloughed. It's a tough number to digest, and seeing the economy get hit the way that it is. So yeah, I just wanted to pose these questions. The infection rate testing stuff that they're finding, it's getting really interesting how they're thinking it's significantly higher infection rate than previously thought, which would then suggest that the mortality rate is significantly lower. You start looking at the demographic of the people that are actually truly being impacted, and it is people that are, pre-existing conditions, much, much older. Now, when you look at that and you start seeing kind of the what's happening, I guess, socially, there's a lot of these protests that are happening. I documented one on Friday, and actually I had another video that I created that actually talked about groupthink, mob mentality. I found myself in the middle of this scenario because of a variety of factors, but you know what? I opened it up to comment, question, because it was a real thing that happened for me, and it was unexpected. Since COVID-19, since I started following it in mid-January, late January, I've always considered it to be significantly, something significant that we had to really identify with and manage very carefully. The more that it goes on, the more information that comes out, it's getting more and more interesting, because we're finding that a lot of the models that were used were highly speculative. Even the CDC is going back and forth on masks or no masks or surgical masks or healthy people, or it's what's the right answer. The information coming out of China, can you believe it? I don't know. But looking at the US population, 330 million people, the amount of people that are becoming deceased from COVID-19, and I'm not making light of these numbers, but in the big picture, we're not even seeing what's happening with the economy yet, and we probably won't for a number of months. And what's concerning is that as time goes on, there's actually a really good chance of inflation. So for those of you that actually are still gainfully employed, for those of you that still have the income, that it's not really impacting you because you still have work, you still have benefits, you still have everything going for you, consider this. If it goes on for much longer, the money that you do have in the bank, the house value that you do have, there's a really good chance that that stuff could become less value. And for the, inflation caused by a number of factors, some of which are unemployment and businesses shutting down, which is a lot of what's happening in the States. Michigan just recently passed the 25% unemployment mark. And for those of you that have, done a little research, in 1933, I believe, was the highest rate of unemployment in the U.S. during the Great Depression, and that was 24.5%, maybe 24.9%, but it was under 25%. I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers and the facts, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. Throw something in the comments below, or if you want to get on a call, let's make it happen. But yeah, I'm just looking at these numbers, and it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how states start to open back up. If they do, the younger demographic is, they're open to go and participate in society, in work, in whatever way they see fit. We've got to be able to continue. We got to have the economy keep going in order for the government to keep pumping money into the economy. Like, it has to come from somewhere. If they just keep pumping trillions of dollars into the economy, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, for those of you that are unfamiliar, you should research the fiat currency system and just kind of look at what happens when a bunch of money starts getting printed and pumped into the economy. So I don't know. Some of you are probably in really good positions right now, and it's actually a benefit that the economy is getting hit the way it is. Because if you're in a good position and you have the money and the finances and the ability, right now is the time to monopolize on other people's suffering. And as twisted as that is how business people are perceiving what's happening right now. So I don't know. Again, I just wanted to share some numbers with you. I thought that the percentages of 70% in long-term care, over 70%, over 99% underlying health conditions, and the median age of 84 years old paints a very, very different picture than if you just hear these one-off stories of, this teenager that died from complications, or, a baby. If you dig into these stories, there's a very good chance that you're going to start finding that the way that they're presented is with an agenda in mind, and it's not necessarily all the information specifically in the headline. And that goes back to my headline, and that's why I made this video, is because hopefully, people are going to start facilitating discussion rather than just arguing and calling each other names. That's really the only way to come out of this whole scenario with a brighter looking future. And just inform yourself, educate yourself. It's interesting to see the information that's coming out now, and actually watching the information that people are using in their debates. And that's another thing, is source your sources. You can find an article in whatever media it is that you follow, but source it, find their references and see where it's coming from, because some of this stuff is coming from places that's really, really interesting. So just inform yourself, educate yourself, come up with your own opinions, but also be open to hear discussions from other sides, and there's truths on both sides of the aisle. There's, whichever party you're in favor of, or whatever your belief structure is, there is pieces that you can take from other belief structures and systems. So that's all I'm saying. Posing the question, posing the thought. Let me know what you're thinking about in the comment sections below, and stick around. We got some more interviews coming at you this week, and we're gonna just keep this going as long as we can, or until the big man up top says we're gonna shut this project down. So I'll see you guys around later.